The air reeked of burnt sage and iron, the scent of old magic that clung to the shadow magician's lair like a second skin. Cassandra Blackwood, once fierce, once radiant with the fire of her wolf, knelt on the stone floor, her fingers digging into the grooves of ancient runes carved there centuries before. Her body trembled, not from the cold, but from the hollow ache inside her chest. Empty. That's what she was now, empty of pack, empty of purpose, empty of him. You came back. The magician's voice slithered through the darkness, smooth as poisoned honey. He stepped into the flickering torchlight, his face a shifting mask of youth and decay. One moment a handsome stranger, the next a withered specter. His grin was a knife's edge. I wondered how long it would take before grief dragged you to my doorstep again. Cass's throat burned. She remembered the first time she stood here, desperate and furious, demanding the one thing she thought would fix everything. Make him love me. A child's plea, a fool's wish. And the magician had granted it in the cruelest way possible. Sebastian had loved her, fiercely, violently, ruinously, and it had destroyed them both. "You lied!" Cass snarled, her voice raw. The memories lashed at her, Sebastian's body crumpling to the forest floor, the life bleeding from his eyes, his last breath a whisper of her name. You knew what would happen. The magician tilted his head, his amusement a living thing between them. I gave you what you asked for, little wolf. His heart, his devotion. Was that not enough? He crouched before her, his fingers, too long, too sharp, trailing along her jaw. Or did you truly believe love could outrun fate? Cass recoiled, but his touch left a brand, a phantom heat that seared deeper than flesh. She had been so stupid. She'd thought the curse was their pax, their blood feud. She hadn't realized the true curse was her. Her want, her hunger, her reckless clawing need to be loved by the one person fate had sworn she could never have. And now there was nothing left but the magician's laughter and the yawning void where her heart had been. What do you want now, then? The magician purred. Another wish? A second chance? His teeth glinted in the dim light. Or just someone to blame? Cass's hands fisted at her sides. The truth was a blade in her ribs. She would do it all again. Every mistake, every scream, every drop of blood spilled, because even now, even after everything, she still loved him. And that was the worst curse of all. The summer air hung thick with the scent of pine and damp earth as the gathered packs celebrated the blood moon festival. Torches flickered against the twilight, casting long shadows that danced like restless spirits between the trees. 8-year-old Cass Blackwood stood rigid at the edge of the firelight, her small fists clenched at her sides as the elders droned on about unity and tradition. Then she saw to him. Sebastian Sachs, heir to the Moonvale pack, stood flanked by his father's warriors, his chin lifted with a haughtiness that made her teeth ache. Even at 9, he carried himself like he was already alpha, like the world owed him reverence. Their eyes met across the bonfire, and something primal itched beneath her skin. Her wolf stirred, an unfamiliar heat pooling in her chest. Cassandra Blackwood, the Moonvale elder's voice boomed, snapping her attention back. Step forward. Her stomach dropped. This was the moment, the ceremonial offering of goodwill between their packs. A symbolic gesture, her mother had said. A political game, her father had grumbled. Sebastian was already moving toward her, his expression unreadable. The elders murmured as they stood face to face, close enough that she caught the scent of frost and iron clinging to him. The air between them crackled. "You're supposed to take my hand," he muttered under his breath when she didn't move. Cass's lip curled. "I know what I'm supposed to do." A hush fell as she reached out, only for Sebastian to step back, his nose wrinkling like she'd offered him rotted meat. The crowd erupted in whispers. "I won't bind myself to a Blackwood," he announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. His voice dripped with disdain, but his eyes flickered just for a second with something like panic. "Your bloodline is weak. Your pack is—" Cass didn't let him finish. Her palm connected with his cheek in a slap that echoed across the clearing. Gasps rippled through the gathered wolves. "Cassandra!" Her father's roar was distant, muffled by the howling in her veins. Sebastian's face twisted in shock, his cheek reddening. But beneath the fury, something else passed between them. A pull, a recognition. Her wolf whined, a sound so desperate and foreign it terrified her. Sebastian's breath hitched. He'd heard it too. Then his father yanked him backward, snarling something about Blackwood treachery. And the moment shattered. The festival dissolved into chaos, alliances fracturing like ice underfoot. That night, Cass lay awake, her fingers tingling where they'd touched him. Her wolf paced inside her, aching, hungry. Didn't make sense. He'd humiliated her. She hated him. So why did her soul scream that he was hers? The elders never told them the truth, that a century ago a scorned witch had cursed their bloodlines. Your heirs will burn for each other, but their love will be the kindling that destroys your packs. Their wolves knew. Their wolves remembered. And the curse was hungry. The training ground smelled of upturned earth and iron, the metallic tang of blood still fresh where it had splattered across the dirt. 13-year-old Cass wiped her split lip with the back of her hand, her chest heaving as she circled Sebastian. The autumn sun hung low, stained in everything in hues of fire and gold, but all she saw was the way his dark eyes tracked her every move. Predatory, calculating. "Had enough yet, Blackwood?" Sebastian taunted, rolling his shoulders. A bruise was already forming along his jaw from where she'd landed a hit earlier. "Or do you need another lesson in your place?" Cass bared her teeth. "My place is wiping the forest floor with your smug face." Their trainers had long since stopped intervening. The rivalry between the Blackwood and Moonvale heirs was too volatile, too useful. Nothing forged warriors like hatred. But this time, something was different. The air between them crackled, thick with an energy that made Cass's pulse stutter. She lunged. Sebastian caught her wrist, twisting hard enough to make her gasp, but she hooked her leg behind his knee, sending them both crashing to the ground. They rolled, a tangle of limbs and snarls, until Cass found herself pinned beneath him, his weight pressing her into the dirt. His breath was ragged against her cheek. Then his teeth grazed her throat. Not a real bite, not quite, but close enough that Cass felt the sharp points of his canines, the heat of his mouth hovering over the place where her pulse hammered, a claiming bite. The most intimate thing one wolf could do to another. Time stopped. Sebastian froze, his body rigid above her. Cass could see the realization dawning in his eyes. The horror, the hunger. His pupils dilated, swallowing the amber of his irises. "Cass," his voice was rough, barely human. She shoved him off with a force that sent him sprawling. Her skin burned where his lips had brushed, her wolf clawing at her ribs, howling for him to come back, to finish what he'd started. "Don't ever do that again," she spat, scrambling to her feet. Her hands shook. Sebastian stared up at her, his expression unreadable. "I didn't mean to." Liar. She turned and ran, ignoring the shouts of the trainers, the whispers of the other pups. The forest swallowed her whole, but even the chill of the shadows couldn't extinguish the fire in her veins. That night, Cass dreamed of teeth and blood and a voice that wasn't hers whispering in the dark. The curse remembers. The near bite awoke something ancient. Now when their skin brushes, their wolves surge with power, but so does the curse. Vines twist tighter around their throats. Shadows lengthen, and somewhere, deep in the woods, the magician smiles. Stolen nights, bloody days. The old oak tree stood sentinel in the moonlit clearing, its gnarled branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. Cass pressed her back against its rough bark, the chill of the night air doing nothing to cool the fever in her blood. She didn't have to wait long. A twig snapped, and then he was there, Sebastian, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the silver light, his breathing already ragged, like he'd run the whole way. "You're late," Cass murmured, but the words dissolved into a gasp as he closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands cradling her face like she was something sacred. "I had to shake 3 of my father's trackers." He growled against her lips before crushing his mouth to hers. The kiss was desperate, hungry, a wildfire neither of them could control. Cass tangled her fingers in his hair, pulling him closer as if she could fuse their bodies together and finally silence the relentless ache in her chest. But then Sebastian stiffened, his head jerking up. A howl echoed in the distance, long, mournful, wrong. "Another one," Cass whispered, her stomach twisting. For weeks now the forest had been sick. Deer with milky eyes stumbled into pack territory, foaming at the mouth. Streams ran black with rot, and the children, gods, the children woke screaming from nightmares they couldn't remember. Sebastian's thumb traced the curve of her cheekbone, his expression dark. "They're saying it's a plague, that the Moonvale witches will need to perform a cleansing ritual." Cass laughed bitterly. "We both know what it really is. The curse, their curse. Every stolen touch, every whispered promise in the dark. It fed the ancient magic festering in the land. The elders might not know the truth, but Cass had seen the way the earth withered where they'd lain together, how flowers curled and died in their wake. Sebastian's grip tightened. "We could leave tonight, just run." "And go where?" Cass pulled back, her voice cracking. "The curse would follow. It's in our blood, Sebastian, in our bones." A rustle in the undergrowth made them both freeze. Sebastian shoved Cass behind him, his body coiled for a fight, but it was only an old she-wolf, her muzzle gray with age. The elder's eyes gleamed in the moonlight as she stared at them, her voice a rasp. "So it's true," she said. "The Blackwood girl and the Sax boy. The curse has chosen its vessels." Sebastian snarled, stepping forward, but the elder didn't flinch. "You think you're the first?" She spat into the dirt. "Your great-grandparents burned for the same sin. Their love raised half the forest before the packs put them down like rabid dogs." Her gaze flicked to Cass, pity and venom twisting together. The land demands balance, one life for the other. That's the only way this ends. Then she was gone, swallowed by the shadows. Sebastian turned back to Cass, his face a mask of fury and fear. "We'll find another way. I won't. I can't." But Cass was already shaking her head, her fingers trembling where they clutched his shirt, because she knew the curse didn't want them apart. It wanted them broken. The elders are wrong. The curse doesn't just demand our death. It demands the right death. The first drop of spilled blood will decide which pack falls and which heir inherits the magician's favor, and the magician always collects his debts. The great hall stank of roasted meat and honeyed wine, the air thick with the clatter of plates and the forced laughter of allied packs. Cass stood rigid near the high table, her nails biting into her palms as the Moonvale elders droned on about alliances and bloodlines, about her. "Lady Alara of the Frostfang Pack," the herald announced, and the crowd parted like a wave. The girl who stepped forward was beautiful, pale as winter, with eyes like chips of ice. Sebastian's betrothed. Cass's stomach twisted. She hadn't believed it when the rumors first reached her, not even when the messengers arrived with the Moonvale sigil stamped in wax. But now Sebastian stood at the head table, his face a mask of carved stone, as the Frostfang Alpha placed his daughter's hand in his. His fingers didn't so much as twitch. "You can't do this." The words tore from Cass's throat before she could stop them. Silence crashed over the hall. Every head turned. Sebastian's gaze snapped to hers, his pupils flaring. "Cassandra," he warned, low and dangerous, but the dam had broken. "After everything," she hissed, stepping forward. The crowd recoiled. "After every oath, every—" Enough. Sebastian's father slammed a fist on the table. "Remove this mad woman from my hall." Moonvale warriors moved, but Sebastian was faster. He vaulted the table, his movements liquid with barely leashed fury. Cass barely had time to brace before he gripped her arm, hauling her into the shadowed alcove behind the tapestries. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" he snarled, his breath hot against her cheek. Cass wrenched free. "You promised me." "And what good are promises now?" Sebastian's voice cracked. "The Frostfangs have the cure for the wasting sickness. My people are dying, Cass, while ours—" He broke off, his throat working. "While ours rot from the inside," Cass finished bitterly. "The curses work. Their love, their sin, poisoning everything." Sebastian reached into his cloak. The dagger glinted in the torchlight, obsidian black, its edge smeared with something that shimmered like crushed nightshade. Cass recoiled. "You'd kill me?" "Never." Sebastian turned a blade, pressing the hilt into her palm. His fingers trembled. It spelled one strike to the heart, and the bond breaks. The curse ends. The truth hit her like a physical blow. "You want me to—" "No!" His hand closed over hers, the dagger between them like a live thing. "I want you to live. But the magician comes tonight to claim his due. This is the only way." Beyond the tapestry, the feast continued, laughter, music, the clink of goblets. A celebration of the life he would never have. Cass's fingers tightened on the hilt. The metal burned. "Then let me do it," she whispered. Sebastian's smile was the most terrible thing she'd ever seen. "Oh, my love," he murmured, brushing his lips to her knuckles. "Haven't you figured it out yet? The dagger only works if I wield it." The dagger's curse is a trick, a final cruelty from the magician. The moment it tastes true mate's blood, it won't sever the bond. It will complete it, and the one left standing will become his immortal weapon. The dagger trembled between them, its poisoned edge catching the torchlight like a wicked promise. Cass could feel the dark magic humming through the blade, a pulsing rhythm that matched the frantic beat of her heart. Sebastian's fingers were warm where they curled around hers, steady in her grip, guiding her hand toward his own chest. "Do it quickly," he murmured, his breath fanning across her lips, "before I lose my nerve." Her vision blurred. There has to be another way. A roar shattered the night. "Traitor!" Ronan, her oldest friend, her most loyal guard, burst through the tapestries, his sword already drawn. His eyes locked onto the dagger in Cass's hand, then to Sebastian's grip on her wrist. Misunderstanding twisted his features into something feral. "Whoa! Ronan! No!" Cass screamed, but it was too late. Ronan lunged, his blade flashing. Sebastian shoved Cass aside with a snarl, turning to meet the attack, only for Ronan to twist at the last second, his free hand snatching the poisoned dagger from Cass's grasp. "This is for our pack!" Ronan spat and plunged the blade into Sebastian's heart. A choked gasp. A suspended moment where the world stopped breathing. Then Sebastian's knees hit the stone, dark veins spiderwebbed from the wound, spreading like cracks in glass. His golden eyes met Cass's, wide with realization. "Cassandra," he whispered, his body dissolved, not into death, into shadow. Tendrils of inky darkness coiled from the wound, swallowing him whole. His form stretched, warped, until a monstrous wolf stood in his place, twice the size of any alpha, its fur like liquid night, its eyes burning with the same hellish glow as the magician's. The revenant wolf. Ronan stumbled back, his sword clattering to the ground. What in the gods' names? The beast's growl shook the very stones. Cass didn't move, couldn't, because beneath the snarls, beneath the curses, corruption, it was still him. The creature that had been Sebastian took one step toward her, then another. Ronan shouted, reaching for her, but Cass couldn't look away. A whimper escaped the beast's throat. It dipped its massive head, pressing its muzzle to her trembling palm, just like he used to do. Then it spoke. Not in words, in his voice, echoing from the shadows between its teeth. "Run, Cass." The hall erupted into chaos. Warriors surged forward, howling for blood. The revenant wolf's ears flattened. "I'll come for you." And then it was gone, a swirl of darkness scattering into the night, leaving Cass alone, with the dagger, with the truth, and with the magician's laughter curling like smoke in the air. The transformation wasn't the curse's end. It was its true beginning. Every soul the revenant wolf claims will strengthen the magician's hold, until nothing remains of the boy Cass loved, except his vow, and vows made in shadow always come due. The magician's lair was darker than Cass remembered. The torches guttered weakly, their flames choked by the creeping mist that coiled along the floor like a living thing. She stumbled forward, her boots slipping on damp stone, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The dagger, his dagger, hung heavy at her belt, its poisoned edge still crusted with the remnants of Sebastian's blood. Ah, The voice slithered from the shadows, oily and familiar. The magician stepped into the flickering light, his form shifting between man and something other. Too many teeth, too many eyes. His grin widened as he took in Cass's disheveled state, the tear tracks cutting through the dirt on her face. "Little Wolf returns," he crooned. "And what does the broken pup beg for this time?" Cass's hands clenched. She would not kneel, not again. Bring him back. The words scraped her throat raw. The magician tilted his head, feigning innocence. "Who, darling girl? The boy? The beast?" He chuckled, the sound like dry bones rattling. "Or the monster he's become?" A growl built in Cass's chest. "You know what I want?" "Oh, I do." The magician circled her, his fingers trailing through the air just shy of her skin. "But souls are such fickle currency. Yours, for instance?" He waved a dismissive hand. Bitter, angry, tainted by grief, hardly worth the trade. Cass's pulse roared in her ears. "Then take whatever you want. My blood, my memories, his love." The magician's interruption hung between them, sharp as a blade. Cass froze. "That's what you truly miss, isn't it?" The magician leaned in, his breath cold against her cheek. "The way he looked at you, the way he burned for you, that little wolf is what I crave." A tremor ran through Cass. "You can't. Watch." The magician snapped his fingers. The air split with a sound like cracking bone, and Sebastian, no, not Sebastian, not anymore, materialized from the void. His form was a nightmare of shadow and sinew, his once golden eyes now pits of smoldering crimson. He knelt at the magician's feet, his massive head bowed, his breath curling in the black tendrils. Cass's heart stopped. Sebastian. The creature that had been her mate didn't so much as twitch. The magician stroked the beast's skull, his smile widening. "Oh, he hears you. He remembers every touch, every kiss, every whispered promise." His fingers dug into the revenant's fur. But the love, the yearning, gone, consumed. Cass's knees buckled. "No. Yes." The magician sighed, delighted. The curse is complete. His devotion was the final thread, and now, he gestured to the monstrous wolf, now he's mine. Sebastian, the revenant, lifted its head, its gaze locked onto Cass, empty, hollow, no recognition, no mercy. The magician's laughter followed Cass as she fled into the night, the dagger clutched to her chest like the last ember of a dead fire. She didn't look back. She already knew what she'd see. The magician lied. Sebastian's love wasn't destroyed. It was preserved, locked away in the dagger's poisoned heart. And the revenant? It isn't hunting her. It's protecting her from the truth that would destroy them both. The forest had forgotten her name. Cass moved through the frozen underbrush like a wraith, her boots leaving no imprint on the hoarfrost. 5 winters had passed since the night Sebastian became a monster, since the magician stole the last light from her world. The packs told stories now, whispered around dying fires, of the blood moon alpha who prowled the borderlands, a shadow wolf with eyes like hellfire who tore apart lovers mid-embrace and left their mangled bodies as warnings. "A demon," the elders muttered. "A reckoning?" The young wolves shuddered. Cass knew the truth. She felt him before she saw him, a prickle at the base of her skull, the old bond stirring like a half-remembered wound. The clearing ahead lay bathed in sickly moonlight, the snow stained black where no shadow should reach. And there, in the center, him, Sebastian, was a nightmare-given form. His massive frame rippled with unnatural muscle, his fur not fur at all, but living darkness that drank the moonlight. The stench of magic and old blood clung to him. Cass's breath fogged the air, her heart a trapped bird against her ribs. He turned, crimson eyes locked onto hers. For one mad, glorious second, nothing happened. No snarl, no attack. Just a stillness that cracked Cass's chest wide open. Then his lips peeled back, revealing fangs that dripped venom. A growl vibrated the earth beneath her feet. "Sebastian," she whispered. The beast flinched, just slightly. A twitch of one ear, Cass took a step forward. The wind carried her scent to him, wolf and woman and her, the girl he'd loved beneath 1,000 stolen stars. The revenant's nostrils flared. "You know me," she said, her voice raw with hope. The creature that had been her mate tilted its head. For a heartbeat, the red glow of his eyes flickered, amber bleeding through his color, his gaze. Then it vanished. The revenant lunged. Cass didn't move. Let him come. Let him end it. The beast skidded to a halt, mere inches from her, his hot breath gusting across her face. His muzzle wrinkled, trembling, as if fighting some invisible leash. Cass reached up. Her fingers brushed the scar along his jaw, the one she'd given him when they were children. The revenant whined, a sound so painfully Sebastian that tears froze on her cheeks. Then he recoiled like she'd burned him. When he looked at her again, the emptiness was back, complete, absolute. Cass let her hand fall. The wind howled through the trees, carrying the scent of snow and rotting leaves. Somewhere far away, a magician laughed. "I'd make the wish again," she told the monster who'd once loved her. The revenant turned and vanished into the night. Cass didn't follow. She already knew where the path led. The dagger at her belt hums in the silence. Its blade, still crusted with their mingled blood, glows faintly in the dark. Some curses aren't meant to be broken. Some loves aren't meant to survive. But Cass isn't done yet.